Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan, and welcome once again to the vast and ominous comic book vault. It's time for new acquisitions. I have tons and tons of books to review for you this week. First of all, I want to say thanks to Elite Comics in Overland Park, Kansas for helping me out with the show. And if you're ever in the Kansas City area, be sure to check out Elite Comics. It's an absolutely fantabulous store. Go check it out. I want to bookend the show tonight with independent books. And when I say indie, I don't mean books based on TV shows I like or books that are not of the big two. Tonight, I want to talk about a couple of books, again, bookending the show, that are by creators that I already like and admire, that I've just not been spreading out my wings and trying out. I get criticized quite a bit for being too into mainstream, reviewing too much of the big two. And I think that criticism is absolutely warranted. Sometimes, to be perfectly honest with you, I have a difficult time getting outside my comfort zone and not just reading the stuff that I collect or the stuff that I've always really been into. And, over the years, I branched out and got into some more superhero stuff that I've never really dealt with before. And every now and again, I'll review an indie book. But right now is a really, really good time for creator-owned stuff, and I am not taking advantage of it. And so this week, I'm going to do my best to start taking advantage of it. The thing is, a lot of this stuff that I've been told, especially Image stuff, Image is just killing it right now in creator-owned books. I've been learning a lot from Manos, and I've been learning a lot from people at the comic book store I go to. The deal is, I'm finding out about a lot of things that sound really interesting, but when I finally check something out, it's already in like the third, fourth, fifth issue. I'm going to not let that stop me. I'm going to start sampling some things, even if they're right in the middle of something, just so I can tell you guys about them, and so that I can, again, kind of open my mind up a little bit and try out some new things and just sample what's out there, see what's going on. Tonight, luckily, I am going to be reviewing something that I got a chance to catch up on, and so I'm reviewing Black Science number 3, but I did read the first 2 also to prepare for this. And this is written by Rick Remender, who of course I admire a lot for his work on Venom and for Uncanny Avengers and books like that. This is co-created by Matteo Scalera and also art by Matteo Scalera. First of all, talk about the art. This has been... I'm hearing a lot of great things about this art. This is already pretty acclaimed for that. It's not my cup of tea, really. I'm not super digging it, but I really like the colors in this. Just for my personal taste, I think that the character models are a little bit too cartoony, but that's okay. It doesn't take me out really at all. It's just not really my taste. I think it's fitting just fine with the material. Once I got through an issue of it, I'm not going to say it grew on me. I'm still not a big fan of it, but I'm not having any difficulty figuring out what's going on or telling the difference between characters or anything like that. It's just simply not exactly to my taste, but I think it fits with this material, and I think it is a really unique look. The book itself is really great science fiction. This is a book about dimension hopping. And the best way I can describe it is it's like Lost in Space if the family in Lost in Space, instead of getting lost in space, they got lost in different dimensions. And they had the ability to travel, but they never knew exactly where they were going to end up. Lost in Space was kind of like that, and that's what this is. And this is also somewhat of a family book. Or should I say a book about a family. This is most certainly a mature reader book. And I of course would not recommend this to anybody really under the age of probably 16, and it has plenty of profanity. It really is that kind of book. I think that most of it is warranted. I understand why this is an adult book, and I think Remender, maybe he could have written it in somewhat of a different way where it didn't require all of that, but the themes are so heavy that it kind of makes sense in my mind to just make it a straight up adult mature reader's book. I totally get why he did that with this, and it is a very philosophical book. In fact, the introspection kind of took me out a bit and put me off a little bit to it in the first issue. After I lived with it for a while and came to know these characters a bit better and got more invested in the ideas, I became completely okay with that. If you read the first issue and it's a little too heavy for you and you finish it and you're like, my God, I feel like I just sat through like 3 hours of a philosophy class, continue with it because it gets more entertaining and it gets more character involved evolved as it goes along. Idea-wise, this is all about the establishment versus anarchy, and the main character has created this, like I said, dimension-hopping technology in an effort to save the human race. His thought is, if we have infinite universes opened up to us, then we would have basically potentially unlimited resources, and the human race would want for nothing if we could jump to all these different places and pick up different resources. And so he creates this technology and feels like his philosophy is that the only way to do that is to be completely unimpeded by rules and regulations. Of course, that gets him into all kinds of trouble, and this is a book, certainly all about consequences. And I like that from the very beginning, he is already paying the consequences for those sorts of things. Grant is a really interesting character. He is, as you might expect, somewhat hypocritical, but he knows it, and that totally drives him crazy. He wants to live in a world without rules, but he finds very often that the rules, that sometimes he has to play within the rules in order to get what he wants. One of the things that makes it so hard for him, and I really like this, I think it's interesting, is that he has a family, and he has to follow he doesn't know how to follow the rules that he set up for himself when he made promises to his wife. And not to give too much away, but he doesn't know how to, he doesn't follow those rules to the letter. And so in this particular issue, his mistakes have stranded his family and a lot of the people that have worked on this project, technicians and such, in a universe, in a dimension where there's this huge war happening, and they're in the middle of this battle zone they can't get out of. They're going to be stuck there for 4 hours before the machine can send them somewhere else, but they don't know where the machine will send them because it's broken, and so once they go somewhere else, they won't necessarily make it home. They're stuck dimension hopping and they don't know where they're going to go. The premise is really interesting. The rules and science of the technology is really interesting. I really like the lingo. I'm digging about everything about this book, and I highly, highly recommend it. I think it's really, really good science fiction. It's really involved. I care about the characters involved, and it's good stuff. Very adult, but good stuff. The next thing I want to talk about, let's get into Marvel now and go to Thor, God of Thunder, number 18. Aaron, with this one, kind of gives us an interlude story that takes us back to Thor's past, and it's this very sad tale about a dragon that Thor befriends, and this dragon is a really interesting character. He's befriended Thor, and he really likes humans, and he's fighting his nature, and he's also fighting the rules that his society has set up for him, and he wants to go his own way, a little bit like some of the themes in Black Science, but it's a very, very different thing, and so Thor is trying to help him fight against his nature and not eat people, because ultimately he really doesn't want to, and he wants to again go his own way and be a different sort of being. And I really, really enjoyed this one, but like I said, I think it's really sad by the end. I like it when Aaron does these one-and-dones. I think he's absolutely fantastic with them. In the grand scheme, this is certainly skippable, but it's a really good one-and-done tale, so if you're reading this book and you needed to skip something this week because because of your pocketbook or whatever, it is skippable, but I wouldn't recommend it. I think it's really good. If you haven't been reading this book and you want a good, solid 22-issue or 22-page story that requires no other investment around it, this is a really good pick this week. And I really, really like the art. The art in this one is by Pastores. Let me find his first name. Das Pastores, who I don't think I'm familiar with. I can tell that the color in this is not done in the computer like is so often done, and I can't tell if it's watercolors or pastels or both. There are places where sometimes it looks, and I'm not an art guy, it seems like there are places where it looks kind of pastel, and other places where it looks kind of watercolor. It might be more of like a multi-medium kind of thing. It gives this world a really lived-in feel, and it gives this issue a really timeless kind of feel. Really recommending this one. Totally dug it this week. And now jumping over to Superior Spider-Man number 25. This is by, of course, Dan Slott, and it's co-written by Christos Gage, and then art by Ramos. Okay, so was not thrilled with this. There's a lot of things I like about it. I'll start there. I think that the way Doc Ock engineers the Venom symbiote, and boy, man, the Venom symbiote just constantly getting messed with and drugged and experimented on. I kind of thought that all from the previous issues was interesting. I'm just jumping onto this again from not having been on it in a couple issues, so I'm playing catch up a little bit. But all of that, at least the way it's discussed here, I thought was kind of interesting, and the way that Ock Spidey is trying to control the Venom symbiote, but he's not really able to, and the Venom symbiote's going haywire and attacking everyone. That's fun. There's some fun action in this. I am liking the Goblin stuff quite a bit, setting up for the Goblin War, and the thing with Carly Cooper becoming maybe a Goblin is kind of interesting, although I don't like her supervillain name. It's Monster. Just seems like a really generic, not very good supervillain name. It's like, we're so out of supervillain names now, we've got to go to the really obvious, the really generic ones we've never used before. A complaint that I have lobbed at this book a lot since the beginning is dumbing down characters so that we can stretch this out for as many issues as possible with Doc Ock in Peter Parker's mind, so that characters that really ought to be able to tell something's off with him don't notice it. Now, because we're getting closer and closer to the close, people have started picking up on it, and it really feels like a light switch to me. It really feels like now that Slott is getting toward the end of his run, for Superior anyway, these characters are now finally suddenly allowed to start picking up on the fact that things are weird. It's been like that for a few issues, and so I won't explain exactly what happens in this and why this is, but basically Ock Spidey is able to convince certain people that there's a different reason that he's been acting strangely, and some characters buy it and other characters don't, and the characters who don't buy it, there's a big cliffhanger about that, and that is probably going to be the big catalyst for why Peter Parker finally gets to take his body back. And the thing is, it doesn't feel very natural to me. It feels really contrived. It feels like Slott is just kind of picking and choosing. Okay, this person's not going to get it yet, and is going to buy what he's saying, and not because it's in their character or anything, but just because that's who I've assigned to do that. And then these other characters are going to, finally start to question and investigate Peter Parker. I'm not loving that, but unfortunately it is kind of consistent with the way Slott's been writing this. And I know for fans of this book, I'm being kind of harsh on it, but it's just the way I feel. That's been my big issue with his writing since the beginning. I've always thought that it feels a little bit fanficky, and here and there he's had some really great ideas. Here and there he's been writing characters more organically than others, but it's just inconsistent for me, and I'm not loving it. I like it better than I liked it at the beginning, and I will probably finish the book. I will probably review those, mostly out of morbid curiosity. So anyway, lukewarm recommendation for me. There's a lot of fun to be had with this one, but I do feel like a lot of the character motivations and what people are doing seems to be pretty manufactured. Next up, Uncanny Avengers number 16. This is really epic. This book has just been building and building to crazy epic proportions. There is a reveal here that I was very excited about that seems to, and I, because of the way the X-Men comics have all, even the ones not written by Bendis, have all been coordinating with each other so well, I really wonder if this reveal about why people haven't been able to time travel either to, we're told here, either to the present or out of the present day, is the reason that the X-Men from the past can't go back to the past. And once I read that that was going on in this, I was like, oh man, I hope that's what's going on. That would explain everything. That's really cool. So we get that revelation in this. I won't explain exactly what it is, but that's here. The big thing to recommend this issue for is Thor. Thor goes crazy on the Apocalypse Twins, and it's so much fun to watch him fighting he's just crazy ruthless in this. He's so angry about the Yarborn thing, his acts and the way they've been manipulating the past and using a mistake Thor made in order to facilitate their evil machinations. That's all really great. They talk about how awesome they are because they were able to stop the foes that the Uncanny Avengers couldn't stop. I didn't even really think about it that way, but it's kind of true. Kang has been taken out, Red Skull's been taken out. The Uncanny Avengers had almost nothing to do with it. It was the Apocalypse Twins and the help of their new Horsemen. So all of and Thor going up against them just over and over again. He says, "I care not," and it's really epic. It's really exciting. I think they have built themselves an out, and I really expected this for bringing back the characters who have died in this book back from the dead, because we keep killing people off in this. We have killed off 3 main characters in this, and of course, not only do characters not stay dead in comics, but very rarely do you see this many mainstays get killed this fast, and this being a story that has become a lot about time travel, I figured they were building themselves an out. My assumption is the Avengers are going to probably find a way to break down this barrier that's not allowing them to travel through time, and there will be some time travel that fixes that. This opens with characters from the future, the Infinity Watch, trying to figure out what to do about what's going on in the past, and maybe it'll be the Infinity Watch themselves that solves that problem. Anyway, this is just chock full of action. There's a lot of great Captain America stuff, and it's really fun watching him try to overcome adversity. He's so mangled and messed up right now, and seeing him fight through all that is really endearing. I really enjoyed this one, quite good. Next up, Guardians of the Galaxy, number 11 point now. Okay, so Bendis is really taking his time in setting up Trial of Jean Grey, and if I had a dime for every time I said Bendis is taking his time, I'd be able to bind more comic books. The previous issue setting up Trial of Jean Grey was in, I think, All New X-Men, and it was basically having the Shi'ar show up, and they seem to have taken Jean Grey, and that's pretty much what happens in it. And then at the end of it, the Guardians show up, and they're looking for Jean Grey. So in this, it's everything the Guardians did leading up to showing up to try to find Jean Grey, and it gives us a little bit of background information about why the Shi'ar are going after Jean Grey, and that's about all it's doing. Once again, we are over and over again interrupting this book to do events, and I don't feel like it's enough about these characters. So now it's all about Jean Grey. It's all about that kind of tribunal that I was really loving in, I think it was like the 3rd or 4th issue of this book, the tribunal of alien worlds that all get together and try to hash things out and decide what they're going to do about big universal scary things like Thanos and stuff. Here they get together again and they say, we've got to do something about Jean Grey. My question is, unless I'm missing something in this, why now? Jean Grey's been around for a good long time now, or at least I've been reading issues upon issues where the past X-Men are in the present. I know that there's quite a bit of decompression with Bendis comics, but he's, especially for Bendis, he's been making things happen pretty consistently. I mean, not super fast, but there's been a good steady progression. It feels like they're just now noticing, and anyway, I'm not real sure why that is. The reason they want her, of course, is because she's going to become the Phoenix, and a lot of them are not making any kind of distinction between the version that we have now hasn't become the Phoenix yet. It doesn't matter to them. She's the one that's going to become the Phoenix. They've got to stop that from happening. And then at the end of this, I'm not spoiling anything because we saw it in All New X-Men, the Guardians show up and Jean Grey is missing. The end. I still don't know what Bendis is planning on doing with Angela. She is still kind of just standing around being confused. That seems to be her purpose so far, and to just have a different morality than anyone else. Hoping it picks up a little bit here pretty soon. Anyway, next up, Night of the Living Deadpool, number 2. This is by Cullen Bunn and art by Raymond Rosanes. This is a zombie book. The end. And I mean, like, that's what the first issue was. This one is no exception. This is all style and just a little bit of substance. It is playing a little bit like it wants to be a parody of zombie stuff, but so far, kind of just straight up zombie stuff with Deadpool making a lot of jokes. Tons of atmosphere. I continue to love the art in this. Again, it's like more polished Walking Dead with smatterings of color there. There's always really colorful Deadpool walking around in this really bleak black and white stuff in the middle of the zombie apocalypse. The cliffhanger is kind of fun. I can't say that I'm not looking forward to seeing what happens after this. There is a really sad moment toward the end of this issue that I couldn't help but be somewhat moved by. The previous Bun stuff with Deadpool I was really loving because of the out-of-continuity nature of it. This, of course, is out-of-continuity too, but I mean, I was just really enjoying the kind of, the really interesting kind of meta nature of it, and what it was saying about the medium of comics, the medium of literature, and then the third one was just crazy, insane, nutso romp, and that was really fun. This is slowed down and is kind of just standard zombie fare so far. So, I mean, again, I'm still reading it because it's Bun. I love him with Deadpool, and it's not bad, but I'm hoping that it validates its existence past just let's do more zombie things. Next up, we've got Batman the Dark Knight, number 27. This continues the two-part silent comic thing, and so, like I said last time I reviewed this book, it's silent in that there are no words whatsoever in the book, and I like this issue a lot more. I like the art more in this one for some reason. It's the same artist. This is by, art is by Alberto Panicelli and Greg Hurwitz writing, of course, just writing the story of what happens in each panel, because there's no actual dialogue in this issue. Batman saves the woman this has been focused on, and he has this great showdown with Penguin. There's some really dynamite panels in this. There's some really moving things, and I like a couple of really great full-page spreads. It's one of those you just kind of gotta read on your own. There's not a whole lot to summarize. It's a very simple story. It's an unusual sort of thing. I think it's really neat that DC is allowing Hurwitz to publish something like this in a mainstream Batman comic. Not a whole lot else to say. I am recommending this, but like I said, I liked it a lot better than the last one, so I'm looking forward to picking the other one up again, reading them back to back, and I'll probably enjoy it quite a bit more than I did. Next up for DC, the only one I've got, the only other one I've got this week is an all-ages book. This is a Scooby-Doo Team-Up number 2 featuring Ace the Bat Hound. This is all kinds of fun. I meant to read the first one of this just because I was curious. When I was a kid, I watched those Scooby-Doo Team-Up movies that they did, and there were a couple with Batman. There was another one with Mama Cass from the Mamas and the Papas, and there was another one with the Harlem Globetrotters. So I watched a lot of those TV movies, and this is kind of picking up that spirit. I think that, who is writing this? Looking for a writer. This is Sholly Fish with art by Dario Brazella. Both of them together creating something that is wonderfully true to the spirit of those cartoons, of Scooby-Doo at large, those silly kind of team-up movies, and also bringing kind of a fun modern aesthetic to it here and there, homaging all kinds of things. There's a bunch of Dark Knight homaged in this. I'm not surprised by that, but there are a lot of other fun things that are homaged that I was a little bit surprised by. There's quite a bit of Batman animated series in this, which is wonderfully kind of masked by the overall aesthetic of Scooby-Doo. And we've got Scarecrow in this, and he's the original animated series design, and I thought that was really fun. I really love Scooby-Doo's dynamic with Ace the Bat Hound. That's a lot of fun. Ace is really no nonsense, but he's also very canine. It's a lot of fun to watch them talk together. This is something that works in a comic book in a way it wouldn't work in a cartoon. And I'm okay with that because I really like how Fish is using the medium in a way it couldn't be used in something else. The two dogs speak their own language, and they talk to each other. And so when, like Ace doesn't have any kind of human speak when he's not talking to a dog, so he's just quiet all the time. But of course, you know, Scooby-Doo will say Raggy and things like that. But when he's talking to Ace the Bat Hound, they just talk to each other like normal, and that's a lot of fun. Scooby gets to be his Robin for a while, and I really enjoyed that. Anyway, I definitely recommend this for anybody. I think if you really enjoy Batman, if you like old cartoons, things like that, I think you'll really enjoy the voice Fish has for all these characters. And now let's get into IDW. Before I review these books, I want to mention that the X-Files event has already started. X-Files Conspiracy. We've had that first issue, and we've also had the first issue of X-Files Ghostbusters. I haven't read or reviewed either of those yet because I totally forgot to order them, and I guess they sold out at my store before I had a chance to get them. So I'm going to try to get my captainy little hands on those as quickly as humanly possible, and I'll try to catch up and then review the next ones as they come out. Anyway, regular Ghostbusters number 12, of course, Eric Burnham, and art by Dan Cherning. I always forget Cherning's first name. This is the next part of Happy Horror Days, which honestly has felt like a series of one-and-dones for the most part to me. It's loosely an arc, and they're building to something clearly really big. We're about to get in a big arc called, a big event for this book called Mass Hysteria, which I'm really excited about. It looks really, really fun, and it looks like it's going to be the culmination of a whole lot of things going on in this book. It looks like there's going to be some crazy prophecy fulfillment and all kinds of stuff going on with the Ghostbusters. But anyway, this one deals with this boogeyman that we've been kind of building up, who shows up in Times Square during the New Year. And I always like how ambiguous this book is. We know we're at the New Year, but we don't know what year it is. That's always fun. And there's all this energy coming out of the New Year's ball that's about to drop. It's hilarious. This is classic Ghostbusters humor, completely absurd, and yet there are some creepy things in it, and quite a bit of stuff you can take seriously. I'm really enjoying the banter in this, and Burnham usually has a really good handle on that. I feel like he's more on his game than he has been lately with that. Everything is really tight in this issue. I feel like we're back to the basics of what makes the original Ghostbusters so much fun to read about. All their voices are just really spot on, and everything Venkman says is hilarious. I really, really enjoyed this one, and I'm looking forward to where it's going. Like I said, it looks like he's building some really, really big, exciting things. Next up from IDW, Ninja Turtles, number 30. We are continuing an arc called Northampton, where we're out at the farm that April O'Neil's family owns, that is, as far as I can tell, supposed to be the same farm from the 1990s film. And this is still kind of the aftermath of City Fall. And I really like how deliberately slow-paced this is, and I don't mean slow in a bad way. Like, we're really giving these characters some time to breathe after all the stuff that happened. This is a really intimate, pretty serious issue about Leonardo trying to find himself again. There's all this great stuff, there's all this great character stuff with Leonardo, and also dealing with the rest of the Turtles, trying to figure out how to help him, where he understands that his brothers are the good guys and the people that he should be with, and yet he talks about how he just feels so distant from them. He feels like he doesn't know them, and the only thing that he can really latch on to retain his sanity is the image of his mother. We've got Splinter, who is completely broken down and having this huge crisis of spirit. I'm finding that really interesting. He seems to be, at the end of this issue, almost in a worse place than Leonardo is, and I'm really interested to see where that goes. And it's really interesting to me how Waltz manages to keep the story moving while we're out on a farm, like, healing. It's really, really impressive storytelling. He's juggling so many different elements right now, and so we've got Donatello remembering before anybody else does, yeah, okay, we finished the thing with the Shredder and City Falls all over, but let's not forget there's still the Technodrome problem, and how am I going to deal with that while I'm out here without any equipment, computers, anything, just with some notes and nothing else. And so he's dealing with that stuff. Then we've got some interesting revelations from April's mother about stuff that happened with her father and StockGen, and that's all really good stuff, and tells us a lot that we didn't know. And also, there's this really cool stuff with it. I like April's mom a lot. There's some really cool stuff with her, and she talks about how she used to be an investigative reporter, which A, makes a whole lot of sense as to some of the conclusions she manages to draw, but B, is a really fun thing for the fans, and I'm getting the sense that April is probably eventually going to follow in her mother's footsteps. So anyway, as always, this book is just so freaking good. I care about and love everybody in this. It's still a lot of fun, but this one is pretty emotional and really, really good. I got 2 more books to review, and the last one from IDW is Star Trek number 29. This issue is bizarre. We've got a really, really strange conceit opening this, and I feel like this is one of those fun, quirky sci-fi things that could work and that is entertaining, and there's some good ideas in it, but ultimately makes no sense to me whatsoever. This is by, real quick, Mike Johnson with art by Yasmin Liang. Art, real quick, I'll just mention, I think is a little bit too cartoony, although it fits this premise really, really well. This looks a lot like an all ages book. I'm reminded a lot here of some of the art in like the animated Ninja Turtles book and books like that. Anyway, basically what happens in this is we visit an alternate universe where everyone is the opposite gender. Yeah, it's like, let's come up with a really strange, kind of gimmicky premise that has never been done before in Star Trek, but totally could have been. Well, let's see. TNG did, like, characters turning into little kids. DS9 did characters shrinking. Oh, I know! Let's make everybody the opposite gender. And that's exactly what they do here. So, it's kind of like a mirror universe, but what is mirrored is different. The big difficulty I have with this is that all the events are exactly the same, and I find it really hard to buy that given that everybody is an entirely different gender, or is the opposite gender. So we have Jane Kirk, and some of the names are kind of fun in this. We've got Jane Kirk now. And we've got Yeoman Jason Rand instead of Janice Rand. But Spock's name doesn't change. He's exactly the same. We've got Marjorie Scott, who's still called Scotty. Pavlonva Chekhov, Hikari Sulu. This is hilarious. I don't understand why Uhura's last name changed. Everybody else's last name changed the same, but I guess Uhura sounds too much like a girl's name, even though it's her last name. So we have Nnamdi Uhuro, and he's a bald guy. It's funny, it's quirky, there are a couple of cool ideas here and there, but like I said, the most difficult thing I have with this is that if the majority of the main, if all the main characters in this, for the most part, are women now, when they used to be men, and all of the more kind of lesser jobs are being done by men, I really don't buy that the events would have turned out exactly the same way they did, and I don't like that that this issue is acting like the universe is exactly the same, even though the ship now is run mostly by women. Let's keep in mind, of course, that even though the original series was being really progressive, a lot of the main characters were men because that was the kind of day and age we lived in. Okay, so if most of the main people on the ship now are women, it looks a little bit more like a matriarchy, right? I mean, like, okay, if like Star Trek is supposed to be this kind of like progressive society in the future where there is no discrimination and we don't think about stuff like that anymore, and the idea was just supposed to be that, okay, the majority of the people on the ship doing the major jobs were men, not because they're men, but because they each were individually just best suited for those roles. Okay, but what I find really odd about this is you've got Jane Kirk, who acts just like Kirk, except that, you know, she's a woman, and she is talking with this admiral who says that Starfleet is really concerned and kind of jumpy about the fact that she's both the youngest woman in Starfleet or the youngest officer in Starfleet and a woman, that makes them nervous. I just have a really hard time buying that if the majority of the people that are working on your in the big major places on your ship are female, that you wouldn't have a different kind of society. I don't buy it. It's really strange. Anyway, I don't know. I just think the whole thing could have been handled in a more believable way. The last book I want to review very briefly tonight is Sex Criminals #4, and I keep being told I need to read this book, and this is by Matt Fraction, with art by Chip Zdarsky, and boy, this is really well written, really, really good, solid storytelling, really weird and out there and fascinating, and completely not for me. I will probably go back and read the first 3 issues, and I might give this more of a shot and keep working my way through it. I'm just not into stuff that is this raunchy. I think it's good. I get why people are liking it. It's not for me. It's not my cup of tea. And yet, there are a lot of things I was kind of drawn in by, so I don't know, maybe reading more of this I will get more into it. This particular issue, so the premise of this, if you haven't heard about it, is you have a woman who has the ability to stop time whenever she has sex, and then starts time back up again by having sex again, and that's what she does. And this is kind of a relationship book with a lot of really quirky science fiction thrown in. And this particular issue is called Sex Police, and we find out that there is this organization of sex police, of people who go around and stop people who have this particular superpower from abusing it. And they too have, I think, it seems like have the ability, this ability also, although I'm not 100% sure about that. Their uniforms are absolutely preposterous because they're sex police. They are a little bit fetish in nature. And yeah, this is a hard thing for me to review, especially on a all ages family kind of channel. There's a lot of things that happen in this that would be difficult to describe without getting into the I almost said crudeness of it. The book doesn't handle it in a crude way, but it's those sorts of issues. Our main characters in this couple that keep having sex and stopping time are trying to save a library from being demolished, and they're kind of going against the establishment in order to save this place they really care about, and there's a lot of commentary about the societal priorities and recession, and it's very contemporary, it's very progressive in that way. I do have to say this is a really funny book. There's a lot of humor that, again, not really my thing, and then other things that I totally cracked up at. So, I don't know. I think this book is liable to win me over. At first glance, it's a little too raunchy for my taste, but I also get what it's doing. There's a lot of satire here. There's a lot of social commentary here. Like I said, it's really progressive, and it also has the longest letters pages I've ever seen. 8 pages of letters, and they are raunchier than the rest of the book. But some of that is also really, really hilarious. I love that the back of this says for mature readers, duh, and I won't read the rest of that because this is an all ages channel. Anyway, I kind of want to, like I said, read some more of this and maybe give a more eloquent and more proper review down the road. But because I'm reading this completely out of any context. It's obviously a chapter in the middle of a story, and I don't have everything in front of me, so I'm just giving you my first reaction to it. But I would recommend this to people who like more off the beaten path things, people who like really, really smart storytelling, and people who admittedly act like real people. It's quite good. Anyway, let's go ahead and go on to Book of the Week. And what was my favorite book of the week? I honestly have given this no thought at all. I think I'm going to have to go with Black Science. I really, really enjoyed this, and I think Remender is so on his game on this. I'm going to continue following Remender wherever he goes after this. I want to read more of his non-superhero and creator-owned stuff. This is knock it out of the ballpark. Smart science fiction. Really enjoyed this. And then my favorite color, my favorite color is purple. My favorite cover of the week has got to be, as bizarre as it was, I'm gonna go Star Trek. Actually, I really like this. I really like this cover quite a bit. That's it for this week. Thanks everybody as always for watching. Sure hope you enjoyed it. Once again, if you're ever in the Kansas City area, be sure to check out Elite Comics in Overland Park. And in the meantime, I'm Captain Logan, wishing you happy reading.